of Duty 4 marks the return of Infinity Ward to the Call of Duty series. It's set in modern times, though it uses some fictional countries and fictional enemies. As is typical in a Call of Duty game, you're going to play from multiple perspectives. You're basically going to bounce around between being a British SAS officer and being a US Marine. Unlike most Call of Duty games where it's kind of three separate storylines, this is actually one continuous storyline, and as you're jumping around, you're actually continuing to progress the story as you go. So it's actually a much tighter narrative. Now, the single player campaign on the normal mode is only going to take you maybe about 6 hours to beat, if even that. When you bump the difficulty up, it's going to take you an extra 2, 3, 4 hours to beat because it gets much harder. If you play Call of Duty games before, you know that they're known for intense action, very accurate weapons, a very good feel for the time that they were set in. That's the same case now, even though it's in modern combat. All of the weapons feel really accurate, and what's really important is that all of the squad AI has been upgraded. So there's no squad command that's not set up like Rainbow Six or, Brothers in Arms, where you have to tell your squad where to go. And you don't need it because the squad AI is so good that they fight as realistic as you can imagine. In fact, they save your lives a lot of times. There'll be grenades that'll be thrown at your feet, and you'll see your squad mate grab it, pick it up, and throw it back at the enemy. The enemy AI is also advanced from what it was in Call of Duty 2, which was the last Infinity Ward game. You'll see enemies taking flank positions a lot more often. There are still going to be those stupid terrorists that'll run straight at you or that'll just keep bobbing up and down behind cover. But for the most part, they actually fight intelligently. So they're going to use a lot of suppressing fire to keep you from being able to move, but at the same time, they're going to chuck grenades in there so that you have to move. So it does become a lot more of a challenge. What's really good about the single player is that there's a great variety in the mission structure. Instead of just always, going around and shooting enemies, you're going to have a lot of variation to those mission structures. So there's one time where you're going to be in a helicopter and you're just on a gun in the helicopter and you're just blowing up guys on roofs. There's one mission where you're actually in this really advanced gunship that the military actually uses, where all you see is just you're looking down at a screen, you see little white dots that are people, and you're just blowing them up with different caliber guns, and you see these huge explosions, and you actually see the little guys flying left and right, and it's very eerie because you'll hear your co-pilot just saying things like, "Boom, blew that one up."
Oopsie daisy.
And also there's a sniper mission where you actually get to go hardcore sniper, where you actually see the effect of the wind on the bullet because you're doing a long-range sniper shot. You have to worry about the Coriolis effect, which is basically from the rotation of the Earth. So you have to adjust your long-range sniper shot to these things just as a real sniper would have to do. So there's a lot of reason to replay the single-player mode. Once you beat it the first time, you unlock something called Arcade Mode, which is basically the same game, except now you're getting points for every kill that you do, every stylish kill that you do, every dog whose neck you snap. So even though it is relatively short, you're probably going to play through it at least twice. The bulk of your playtime is going to be devoted to the multiplayer mode, and Call of Duty 4 has awesome multiplayer. Right out of the box, it has 16 maps. It has technically 13 different modes of play. All throughout those maps, there's going to be player and ranked matches, and pretty much like Halo, where the ranked matches are going to have you playing through a playlist that Infinity Ward has set up. There should be a little bit more variety than there is in Halo, though. Infinity Ward doesn't plan to be as restrictive, so you should be able to see all the different modes and all of the different maps and really enjoy them all. Now, you got your standard stuff, like you've got free-for-all, you've got team deathmatch. You've also got some other really cool stuff, like you have a version of Capture the Flag where instead of a flag, it's a bomb. It's sort of a very Counter-Strike setup where one team is going to get the bomb, the other team has got to defend the location where we're trying to plant the bomb. But there's a different version of this mode called Sabotage, in which there's one bomb, but each team has a headquarters. So you're basically fighting over this one bomb, and you each have to destroy the other person's headquarters. And this back and forth can actually go on for 15 or 20 minutes as the bomb is constantly dropped and picked up. And then there are some variants to the modes. There's a hardcore version, which you can put on any of the modes and any of the maps. Hardcore is there's no HUD, which means that there's not even a grenade HUD. So when a grenade drops, you don't see a little icon telling you where it is. You just hear a clink, 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 and then you blow up. There's also basically one shot, one kill. It's realistic damage. And then you have the exact opposite called Old School, where you start off with an Uzi, and every weapon on the map is a pickup. And there's also power-ups as well that you can grab too and stack on each other. And it's sort of a very old school PC version. And the weirdest thing is you can actually click on both options so that you can have something called Old Core, which is old school rules where everything is a pickup, but with hardcore reality physics added to it so that it's still one hit, one kill, no HUD, which kind of creates a third variant, which is really interesting. Now, along with all those modes, there's a really deep RPG system, persistent ranking system that you're going to be using throughout your experience with Call of Duty 4. You're going to be gaining experience for doing kills, for winning matches, and all that stuff will power you up. And then you're going to choose the weapons that you like, and using those weapons more and more is going to power up those weapons and unlock new scopes specifically for those weapons and new challenges. And along with that, you're going to have what are called perks, which are basically skills or powers. And you can have 3 of those. And again, as you progress and gain more levels, you're going to unlock new perks that are available. The perks are really cool. There'll be things like, enhanced health so that you can live a little bit longer, but you can also get a deep penetration, which is basically makes your bullets travel through walls a little bit faster. If some guy's hiding behind a wood wall, you can just shoot right through that wood and kill him. Now it's going to slow down the bullet just a little bit, but again, if you have deep penetration added, it's going to go through much faster and have a much more likely chance of killing. There'll be other things too, like you can add an RPG so that you can, blow people up, which everybody likes to do in multiplayer. So there's a lot of variety, and right now there's a level cap of level 60 in the multiplayer, but Infinity Ward plans on adding to that as they go along, as well as likely adding some new maps and maybe even some new modes. They're just going to see how things go. So for certain, anybody who's a fan of shooters, anybody who's a fan of military shooters, absolutely go out there and get Call of Duty 4. You will not be disappointed.
By now, the hype behind Modern Warfare 2 has reached a ridiculous level. Ever since it was first announced, fans wondered if it could best the almighty Call of Duty 4, the game that a lot of people consider to be the best in the series. Well, we've seen all the commercials, the trailers, and the leaked footage. Now it's time to talk about the final game. Modern Warfare 2 is here, and it's ready to blow you away. Let's get one thing out of the way first. This game is gorgeous. The graphics are a substantial leap over Call of Duty 4, with even the multiplayer visuals trumping the single-player offering from last time around. The levels are filled with more detail and effects, both single-player and multiplayer levels showcase a larger emphasis on height and terrain variation, and the open environments themselves are beautiful. Unfortunately, as slick as the graphics are, the game does have some presentation issues, especially when it comes down to single-player's story. A lot of people may be disappointed to learn that it's short, and I mean really short. On regular difficulty, I was able to beat it in just under 5 hours, with an additional hardened playthrough taking about 6.5. As far as the campaign itself, I personally had a great time from start to finish, but the way the game tells its tale does have quite a few problems. There are a ton of awesome action scenes and classic moments, and with some obvious inspiration taken from classic action films, it feels like a highlight reel of frontline warfare. However, while there seems to be a new piece of technology or mission-exclusive gameplay element at every turn, it feels almost like Infinity Ward came up with a laundry list of cool stuff they wanted to add into the game, and then worried about the story to connect it. You'll get a lot of familiar faces, but it's definitely an over-the-top plot that'll have you checking your brain at the door, and you're gonna have to extrapolate the story for yourself. Single player is still a blast, but it's not. And of course, there's also multiplayer, which is hands down the biggest part of this game. I'm a seasoned Modern Warfare player, and let me tell you, the multiplayer is more balanced and fun to play than it was in Call of Duty 4. There are way more unlockables, and you're constantly being rewarded for playing the game. You'll find more weapons, a huge list of gun attachments and perks, and each perk now includes a new pro mode that acts as a secondary function once you unlock it. Death streaks are going to help newbies feel not quite so dominated, though seasoned players are barely even going to notice them, and all those worries about it screwing up balance should be tossed out the window straight away. Hands down, the highlight of multiplayer this time around are the kill streaks. The sheer amount of strategy worked around these kill rewards is pretty limitless. Along with delivering on the game's overall balance, Modern Warfare's multiplayer venues are extremely impressive. The new game modes rock, and racking up kills is ridiculously addictive. As far as I'm concerned, the Modern Warfare series has again set the bar for online shooters. When you look at the total package, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is an awesome experience all around. Multiplayer is a serious improvement over the already impressive COD4 design, Spec Ops allows for some great co-op action, and the single-player campaign's filled with some very entertaining scenarios, despite the fact that more work needs to be done on storytelling and developing the franchise's cast. If you're grabbing Modern Warfare 2 as a single-player package only, you've been forewarned. For everyone else, Infinity Ward's latest epic is a must-own offering. To see more on Modern Warfare 2 and to check out my full written review, head on over to IGN.com.
Some people may love to hate it, but the Call of Duty franchise is successful for a reason. No other first-person shooter has the same flair for visual spectacle in its campaign, and few can match its utterly addictive multiplayer. While some of the same frustrating problems with the formula still exist, the overall package impresses. The game's campaign is full of amazing set pieces and great firefights, but most importantly, the multiplayer has been refined to be the best of the series. Modern Warfare 3 is made on an older engine, but it still looks great. Sure, it's not among the very best out there nowadays, but a large amount of effects and visual madness is crammed onto the screen at any given time. Also, it still runs at 60 frames per second, adding to the speed, precision, and silky feeling of the controls. Aside from the visual spectacle of the campaign, the menus and interface are basically the same, well laid out system we've seen before. That is, with one major exception: Call of Duty Elite. Elite takes all the stats you care about, like your multiplayer kill-death ratio, and puts it into a format you can easily understand and interact with. Whether or not you're paying for the more specialized services it offers, you can always check out your performance on past matches, see exactly where you were killed and who killed you, as well as compare loadouts and performance like accuracy. You can also look at pictures of maps with info on spawn points for various multiplayer game types, giving you the ability to think about strategies and planning. The sheer amount of available information makes Elite something I can spend far too much time with, and can definitely help you improve your game. The campaign of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 hits on a lot of the same highs and lows as its predecessors. You still have annoying, seemingly infinite spawning monster closets of enemies, and at several points enemies seem to completely disregard their own safety, to run past your allies and shoot you in the face. The story is also still a bit hard to follow, and while it does wrap up the story from the previous Modern Warfare games, isn't ultimately all that interesting. Moments of emotional weight didn't make me feel much of anything, since it was hard to feel sad about the death of one named soldier when I just watched hundreds of people die. These issues are only somewhat important though. The set pieces never failed to grab me, and playing through level after level feels like a crazy roller coaster. If single player is good, then Modern Warfare 3's multiplayer is fantastic. Like the other Call of Duty games before it, this entry sucks you in with its persistent leveling system and frantic combat. All of the 16 new levels are fun to play, and with a whole slew of new challenges to complete, rewards constantly pop up and keep you hooked with the next little endorphin release. No matter if I play for 5 minutes or 5 hours, multiplayer Modern Warfare 3 always feels like I'm accomplishing something. New modes like Kill Confirmed, where you only get credit for a kill by picking up a dead enemy's dog tag, help keep things from feeling like just more of the same. While Lone Wolf players still have free-for-all, Kill Confirmed encourages teamwork in ways Modern Warfare didn't previously have. Combine this with new private match modes, which you can tweak and customize yourself, as well as many returning favorites, and you have a multiplayer experience you can play for days on end. On top of the single multiplayer campaigns, extra time can be sunk into the cooperative Spec Ops mode. The mission mode from the previous Modern Warfare returns, with a whole new set of stages that challenge you in a variety of ways. For instance, you might have to quickly take over a plane, while in another mission you might be challenged with disarming chemical weapons. Additionally, there's a survival mode, where 2 players try to survive against endless waves of increasingly difficult enemies. It's not exactly original, but it's a game type that works well in Call of Duty, and can be played over and over again. Despite any flaws, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 takes the fantastic series we've come to love over the years and iterates on it with great success. The multiplayer is hands down the best it's ever been, with more features, more modes, and a ton of new levels and ways to interact via Call of Duty Elite. Single player campaign and Spec Ops mode just add value to the overall package, creating something that's far from perfect, but also too damn addicting to pass up. For more on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, go to IGN.com.